Hey guys, I want to talk about what I believe is the number one reason people don't achieve their fat loss goals, and that is hunger. So, first things first, fat loss is achieved by burning more calories than we eat, and we've got to make sure that we don't eat those calories back, otherwise, we'll end up back where we started. So, just imagine if you ate 550 calories less than your body needed every day for 2 weeks, then you'd lose about a kilogram of fat, because a kilogram of fat is 7,700 calories. But then let's say the next week you ate 1,100 calories above every day, then you put that fat back on. So you might lose a little bit of or gain a bit of muscle during that time, and your water would fluctuate a bit, but the body fat is independent of that. One of the reasons that we're likely to eat more and give up or cheat on our diet is because our body releases hormones when we don't eat enough. So that includes ghrelin, which makes us hungry and crave certain foods. We release less leptin, which makes us feel full, and it makes food feel more rewarding, especially foods that are high in sugar and fat. We release more stress hormones. It makes us feel anxious or depressed. We release less dopamine, which reduces motivation for tasks that are unrelated to eating. And we release less serotonin, which means we feel less relaxed. So there's an interesting quote that society is only 3 meals away from anarchy. So as long as we've got our basic needs met, like food, then everything runs relatively smoothly. But let's say if we hadn't eaten for a day and we didn't have any food or any money, then we'd probably be out looting supermarkets, desperately trying to get something to eat. So the purpose of these hormone changes is a safety mechanism to put psychological pressure on ourselves to go out and eat more and regain fat. So fat's our emergency energy supply when we can't eat. Until about 150, 200 years ago, our ancestors didn't have the reliable source of food that we have today. So if their hormones didn't kind of provoke them to obsessively go out and find food, they probably would have been starved before they had the opportunity to pass their genes on to us. So when we're dieting, we feel similar discomforts to when we're starving, and it feels horrible and uncomfortable, but humans are incredibly resilient when we put our minds to it, and we can go through these difficult fat loss phases and achieve our goals. So here are a few tips to work around that hunger and achieve your goals. Accept you're going to be hungry, and it's going to impact your mood. There's no way around it. When you eat in a deficit and you're burning fat, you'll feel hungry. Focus on your goals. So you need your goal of losing fat and looking your best or feeling healthy, whatever the reason is. That's got to be more important than the temporary satisfaction of food. Avoid very large calorie deficits because this increases hunger. So I'd probably recommend no more than about 500 calories a day. Don't diet for too long, as you're going to get progressively hungrier. So I recommend no more than 6 to 10 weeks at a time. And I've personally found that dieting 3 weeks on and then having a week off my diet and then repeating the process has worked really, really well for me. So periods when you don't eat and you take a break from your diet are just as important, because this is going to allow your hunger hormones to return to normal, and this is going to prepare you for future fat loss phases. So in my experience, people that try and lose fat all year long for year after year don't get very good results. They end up burnt out and frustrated with the process. So with dieting, just like in your training or your work, you're actually going to be more productive in the long term if you allow yourself some time for rest and recovery. So when your diet phase finishes, you still need to be conscious about your diet for the first few weeks, as your hunger signals are still going to be high, and it's going to be easy to regain that fat if you're not careful. So it's extremely difficult to feel full when you've been dieting. So for example, I just finished a fat loss phase myself, and yesterday I went back to eating relatively normally, and I accidentally ate about 1,400 calories above my maintenance. Even though I ate so much, I was still hungry, and I would have eaten more if I hadn't added up my calories and realized my mistake. This brings me to the next one. So track your calories. Your hunger is going to distort your perception of how much you're actually eating, and the only way to be accurate with that is to track. It takes 5 or 10 minutes a day, so it really is worth it to achieve your results. Be realistic with your schedule and your lifestyle, and if that allows you the right conditions to lose fat. So if you're traveling often, or you've got lots of social events that you're going to be eating and drinking and you can't miss them, then it's probably best to just pause the fat loss until you're in a phase where you can attack it and do it properly. So in my experience, January to March and September to November are the best months of fat loss because we've got less going on, and the worst month is December because we've got Christmas parties and family gatherings and stuff, and usually the start of spring is not good as well, as generally we want to go out and socialize a bit more. Don't make big increases in your training when you're dieting. It's going to be harder for you to recover in a calorie deficit, and also doing extra training is going to make you feel hungrier. So build up gradually. And the best activity for losing fat is probably walking rather than doing like loads of cardio, and limit or avoid highly processed foods high in fat or sugar, because it's much easier to eat lots of these foods without feeling full. It's okay to eat more calories if you're feeling extremely hungry or having a terrible day. You don't need to be perfect every single day, and sometimes it's just not realistic that you're going to have the mental discipline to diet every day. So don't feel guilty if you need to do this, but make sure you don't eat more than your maintenance calories, because as long as you just eat your maintenance calories, you haven't gained any fat. And as long as you don't do this too often, you get back to kind of the fat loss. It's going to have minimal effects on your goals. This is where tracking your calories again becomes important, because you're not going to know where your maintenance is unless you're tracking. Don't get drunk or drink too often. So if you drink moderate alcohol consumption, so no more than 2 beers or glasses of wine at a time, no more than twice a day, this makes your diet harder but not impossible. But if you're drinking more than that, you might as well not even bother, because you're not going to lose any fat. You're only going to frustrate yourself. So like we talked with the lifestyle and the schedule, if you can't avoid that, you're better off just focusing on maintaining or maybe gaining some muscle. And last of all, don't get discouraged if you slip up. It's almost certain to happen at some point. So I'm a professional. I'm very motivated. I track my diet and my body composition every day, and I still have the occasional day where I go over my calorie limit before I've even realized. But even on terrible days, so Christmas Day or my stag do recently, I'm going about 2,000 calories above, so I'm eating about 5,100 calories a day, and that adds up to about 250 grams of body fat. So it's not the end of the world as long as you're not doing it too often. And then the important thing is just get back into good habits, and the important thing is you learn, so you're not repeating those same mistakes again. Okay, so I hope this video has been helpful for you, and just leave any comments if you have any questions.